How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video. I know it has definitely been a while since I've last uploaded, and if you guys follow me on Twitter or are a part of my Discord server, both of which are linked in the description down below, then you'll know that it has been a busy few months for me. I was traveling for work. I do have a job outside of just working on YouTube and developing on the Roblox platform. And then also some things going on with family and of course the holidays, and still navigating the whole normal in this pandemic and trying to stay safe like many of you. But anyways, I have finally returned and I wanted to come back with a more personal video. So if you guys watched any of one of my recent videos where I went over all of my plots in Bloxburg, one of those plots that you guys probably saw was actually a preview of this where I was working on trying to plan it out. So I finally decided to build my home. If you guys have been around the channel for a while or have gone back through some of my older videos, you will see that I created an apartment that I used to live in probably about 2, maybe 3 years ago now, and created that interior and was able to show you guys around it. And then eventually I ended up moving out of there and have been very fortunate to move into a home and wanted to kind of show you guys some behind the scenes, what that looks like, and just once again be more personal with you guys. So anyways, that's what this video is going to be. I'm trying a new style here where I'm actually going to be talking more throughout the video itself. I want to do kind of some narrating over the speed build content and talk through some of those points, and then also at the end walk through the tour with you guys and kind of show you around my home, since of course it's my actual home, and be a little more personal in that regard. If you guys want to see more Bloxburg speed builds, I also do live streams. Make sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing more of you guys on here in the future. So with that, as you guys have seen from the start, I just started off by placing the outer walls on this build, and yes, that is something that I planned out beforehand. It took me a lot of trial and error to get it exactly how I wanted to be the most realistic representation of my home in regards to the size of the rooms and stuff. And then I went through and was coloring the walls, so I think I used a cloudy gray here. Yes, almost all of the walls in my house are actually that color, surprisingly. And then after I was doing that, I just wanted to add the wall trim so I didn't forget to add the baseboards later. I could have used the clone tool to do some of the walls and save that, but for whatever reason I just decided that this was easier. And from the next step, I am going through and placing the windows and doors so I have a general idea of where some of that stuff is. Working on this portion here, I am creating my hall bathroom. So this is just kind of like a guest bathroom, and the one that's not too far off of what's the front bedroom that I actually use as an office that you'll see come together. So moving on from that bathroom, I moved over to my master bathroom, which is actually my bedroom. Since I do live alone, it is just me flying solo here. And from that point, I just wanted to kind of copy over some of the stuff since it's pretty similar to what's in my hall bathroom. And then of course, creating my shower. Unfortunately, I was not able to create, I actually have like a vaulted ceiling in that bathroom where it's a very tall ceiling that slopes upwards. And the shower is actually open above, but unfortunately could not create that given the limitations of Bloxburg. And then moving on here, just putting in some clothing to represent my closet. It's actually a different configuration than this. It's not that fancy, but it gets the job done. Next, I am moving on to my bedroom here, and as you'll see as it comes together, my bedroom is very, very plain. And as you'll see throughout my house itself, yes, I've got some stuff out in the living room and kind of main area, but I'm not one that puts a bunch of stuff on the walls or a bunch of clutter and smaller decor. I've got some fake plants and a few paintings and art pieces on the wall just to give it a little bit of character. I'm pretty minimalist myself, so as you'll see throughout this, that's definitely more my style, and some probably will call it a little plain as well. So this part here that you're seeing me create, I was actually trying to create what's called a tray ceiling in here. And this took me a few attempts, as you'll see throughout this footage. I wanted to leave it in just to kind of show the struggle, but this is using the new structural tools. You'll see in some of the actual photos of my bedroom, once I show those in the tour portion later, of how it's actually recessed like that. I thought that that was a pretty cool detail to include and wanted to try to get it included in this build to make it as accurate as I could. And then of course I cannot forget my ceiling fan. That ceiling fan gets a lot of use. I like sleeping in a very cold environment, so that's something that is always on. Now moving on to kind of my main living area. So I've got these little watercolor paintings that you'll see later once I've set the decals, just in kind of that area. I wanted to start putting things on the wall. And then in here I am just creating a closet that you'll see. I just use it to store a lot of electronics and boxes and some extra things I don't have stored elsewhere in the home. Kind of jumping around and hitting some random details I didn't hit earlier. So going back to that hall bathroom and finishing that off. And then now moving on to the laundry room. So just my washer and dryer, a little bit of shelves. You'll see in the tour, I actually added the other shelf. So in my real home, that laundry room actually has a counter on the other side of it that I couldn't fit, given having to work off the grid here in Bloxburg, but I actually have a counter on the other side that you can fold clothes or set things on and whatnot. And these are those few pieces of artwork that I mentioned earlier, and you'll see later where I set the decals. But yeah, that's really about all I have on my walls are those few pieces out there. And then I have one really big thing that I had bought from IKEA. If you've watched the apartment video that I mentioned earlier, it was the same thing that I used to have in my apartment, where it's just a skyline image from, I believe it's New York City. Now I'm just going through and putting in some of the ceiling lights, as you guys have seen, to lighten the place up a bit. And now also adding my staircase, which is open to that area. And then it goes down into my very dark, boring, cold concrete basement, which doesn't have a whole lot going down there besides my furnace and water heater and stuff. Now putting in my furniture. It's the same furniture that you guys would have seen in that apartment building video, but just kind of a sleek and simple black leather. And then I bought these tables about a year ago that have these nice little wood tops on them and a metal frame. And of course my TV, where I hang out and like to watch Netflix or occasionally some TV shows. Now this part here is my pantry, which has way too much storage, and honestly I don't even fill like half of it with food. It is way too much storage for my personal uses, so it holds boxes and stuff from appliances. But it is a very large pantry. Honestly, my dad, when he first visited this house with me, he was joking that he could just sleep in there if he ever comes to visit, so maybe I'll hold him to it one day and put an air mattress in there for him. And then of course my little dining area. If you're a part of my Discord server, you know the ongoing joke. It took me probably a year and a half to actually get a dining table and chairs in this home after I had moved in. So for the longest time, my little dining area there was just completely blank. And I would always joke to people that I would just eat on the floor or whatever. But usually I end up eating on my couch or at my desk. I spend a lot of time here in my office, whether it's recording, playing games, hanging out, working on Bloxburg development, you name it. I spend a lot of time in here. And then during the pandemic, I've been working from time to time out of my home too. Now just doing a little bit of the front decor here, and then also wanted to do my landscaping and things of that nature. So I tried to make the exterior of my house different than the actual, just to of course preserve my own privacy and give myself a little bit of comfort knowing that people hopefully would not be able to find my house like that. But just showing you kind of what some of the landscaping ideas are. So having like a nice landscaping bed, I guess, up front, and some flowers and bushes and things of that nature, and trying to at least represent that I have some landscaping on the front of my house, even though this isn't really what it looks like. Now just doing my back patio. So yes, it is a covered patio back there. As you'll see, I'm adding the pillars here, and then I later do the roof. I just wanted to leave it open for people that joined me in the server at the time to see what I was working on. But I've got a table and chairs back there, and then also a grill, so I like to cook out there during the summertime. And here's the roof that I mentioned. I know it was pretty quick, but I think I go back and do it here and decide that ultimately that didn't work how I wanted it. So you'll see that I remove that and end up just doing kind of the full generated one, because as I mentioned, the exterior doesn't have to exactly match what my actual house looks like anyway. So I figured that this at least got the job done. Then I add a little bit of trim on the front of the home just to add a little more bit of detail there and some more color as well, because I know that's pretty popular on homes kind of this style, I guess. And once again, I should have colored that up front and used the clone tool, but you get the idea. Now just adding the trees, and then I also add in a fence, and this isn't actually what the backyard itself looks like. I've got other homes in the area and stuff, but I just kind of wanted to finish it off to make it look like a standalone house, since here in Bloxburg obviously you have your own plot area and stuff, and it's not tightly compact houses like you would see in a suburban neighborhood most of the time. Now going into one of my favorite just kind of rooms overall in the home. The kitchen, so I started off by placing the cabinets, and then you'll see that I put that wall trim back there. That is to color the backsplash, so I can add a different color than what you see above the cabinets, since that's how it is in the actual home here, as you'll see in the photos and the tour. Then from there, just going in and placing the appliances and some of the kitchen decor that I have, trying to mimic what I actually have my kitchen laid out as. There's a few minor changes and deviations, but overall I'd say it's pretty close. And then the kitchen island as well, which I still don't have bar stools for. I had ordered some at one point that I thought I would really like, and then they actually showed up. I guess the color that the manufacturer showed in the photos, it differs from what they actually produce. So ultimately, the color brown on them was very wrong for what I would want in my home. So I had to send those back. Maybe one day though. And then just adding in some of the ceiling lights here, because obviously my actual house has ceiling lights so I can see and get around. And then of course some of the lamps and stuff too. But got a lot of recessed can lights, so that's of course what those are representing. And now for my favorite room, which, as I mentioned earlier in this narration, is where I spend most of my time. So this is my front bedroom, which I use of course as an office, with it just being me. And I've got my desk set up in here, and I tried to figure out a good way. As you can see, I was struggling here to get the computer placed just right. But as you can see, this is where I've got my desk. I've got 3 monitors and then a computer that I actually built myself early last year, kind of when I started being at home more from the pandemic. I decided it was a good time to upgrade and change things out. And then here I was trying to put all that together. And you can see I had to use a few different ideas to get this done. But trying to recreate my desk where I've got my monitors, my computer, I've got some lamps, and I've got my audio and streaming gear as well. So these actual lamps, I ended up making a few attempts to raise them and get them at the right height, but my actual lamps that you'll see in the photo and tour later actually kind of clamp to my desk and then go up above my screens. It just gives me a lot of good task lighting for when I'm working on things and reduces the strain on my eyes. And then I also have LED lighting behind it. So I'm using these little boxes just to represent my computer case, because I wasn't going to go through and try to make a computer case like some of the very talented builders in the community have done. And then those cash registers, I just wanted something there to represent that I have a printer. I couldn't really think of anything else good at the time, so that's what I ended up going with. And then this is a little entertainment center. I've got a TV over there and an Xbox One, as well as a Nintendo Switch, which I bought, as you guys probably saw on Twitter, at the start of the pandemic when there was a pretty hard time trying to find one, but I bought it to play Animal Crossing, and I can't say that I really play either of those consoles that often, maybe from time to time, but it is very far and few. And then just a little bookcase that I store books and some personal belongings and stuff on in the office. You might ask what this is here. So that little thing there is what's called an egress well window. So that's actually for eventually, if I finish out my basement, since it doesn't have anything down there right now. If you put a bedroom in a basement, you have to have a way for someone to get out in case there's an emergency. So that's what that is. And then just putting a few items out here in my garage. And yeah, that's about it. That is a Jeep. I don't own a Jeep, but I thought that it would just be a good vehicle to fit. And now going in and adding the light switches to the build to give it a little more detail, since obviously those are all throughout my actual home. And then as you can see at the end here, I'm just going through and adding some final touches and details. I'll go through and double check over everything, make sure I didn't miss anything, which I did and had to add after this. And yeah, on to the tour. All right, so now for the part that you've all been waiting for, finally the tour of my actual house, or at least the Bloxburg recreation of it. So this is actually my second take doing this tour. I do want to recognize some fans and friends that were on when I originally recorded this. You can see their usernames here on the screen, but I just want to make sure that they get some recognition because they spent a lot of time hanging out with me and wanted to be a part of this. And I also had to come back and redo this because I realized there were some mistakes in some of the audio and a few things I missed. So anyways, here we go, and welcome to my house. So as we are getting started here, this is just my recreation of a front yard. So like I mentioned in the building portion of it, it's not identical to my actual house, just to preserve my privacy. As you can see, I just put in some landscaping that I thought looked nice to kind of give you a good idea of what it might look like. Then coming up on my front door here, so I have this covered front porch, and you come into the front door and you can kind of see as you go through here my full house. We will save these rooms for later. I kind of want to touch on the office last. I guess I can go ahead and show you the bathroom here. So this is just a hall bathroom that guests and stuff can use, and it would actually go with what's supposed to be a bedroom that I use as an office. And once again, we'll get to that here in a bit. And as we're coming across the way here, so once we cross the front entry, we've got my garage out here, which I just have some shelves. It's where I park my vehicle. I don't actually drive a Jeep, but I thought that this was just a good fit for decorating the house since my actual vehicle obviously is not in the game. So here's the garage. Then you come over here and I've got a laundry room. So just pretty simple washer and dryer, a little spot to hang some clothes. After I've washed them, I keep my soaps and detergents and stuff up there. And then there's a little counter. The counter is actually deeper than this, but because of the size constraints in Bloxburg, this is what I ended up adding. I've got this little space here where I can hang coats. It's got some built-in cubbies for shoes and stuff. And I've currently been hanging face masks and whatnot over here because of our current situation in the world. This is a closet. The door should actually swing out. Looks like that's something I accidentally missed. But this is where I just store winter coats, gloves, additional things, and then like a mop and broom and stuff. And then coming across here, so these are a few pieces of artwork. This is actually based off the actual one. I just copied it over because they're all slight variations. I didn't feel like uploading 3 separate ones, but as you come in here, so this is the living room space, and as you can see, I'll put some pictures up here on the screen to show you what it actually looks like as well. And you can see it's a pretty close recreation of it. So I've got kind of a couch, love seat, and then also an armchair in here. This is where I hang out. I watch Netflix, I'll watch some TV, occasionally I'll watch sports, I watch hockey, and then sometimes baseball as well. And then going over here, this is the kitchen and dining room, and once again you can see kind of the real comparisons as I put them up on the screen here. And this is my table. So if you're in my Discord server, you've definitely heard the joke where it took me about 1.5 years to actually get a dining table in here. So this space sat empty for quite a while. Oh, oops, didn't mean to close those. So we'll go out back here. This is just my covered patio space. So I've got a grill and then also a table and chair. So this is where I hang out when it's nice outside. Sometimes I'll cook some food when the weather's nice. Obviously, it's pretty cold right now. I live in the Midwest, so we get snow. Unfortunately, we've gotten a lot of it this year. Then going back through the kitchen, so I've got a stove and then a built-in microwave above it, fridge and stuff over here. And then this is my gigantic pantry. So if you heard me talk about it in the build narration earlier in this video, I've got so much space in here and I don't ever use all of it. I keep like cleaning supplies and stuff on this side. And then over here, I just fill food in about this first portion. These others I've kind of infilled with random like small appliances and stuff. And I've got a trash can that I forgot to put here. Whoops. Then going back through here. Looks like I also missed this carpet. Thought I might note that. Let's go ahead and go downstairs before we go into my room. So this is my basement. You can actually see the floor joists and stuff, but I was too lazy to put all those in using the structural items for a pretty small detail. Eventually, I actually want to like build this out and add some additional space. I'd love to add like a game room, maybe a TV or like a projector screen over here, and then another bedroom and maybe an office or some sort of additional space down here. Currently, I've just got some shelves back here. They keep like storage boxes and things like that. And then this is my poor attempt at trying to represent my HVAC, so my furnace that's here, and then also a water heater, and there's some wires and miscellaneous electronics and stuff there for the house. Close that, come back upstairs. My character's going a little faster than I would like, so I'll kind of be a little choppy through this. So this is my bedroom here. This is the master bedroom in the house. Really happy with how the ceiling turned out. As you'll see in the comparison photos, it definitely looks like this. That was a detail I thought was really important. And yes, I know my bedroom is very kind of bare and boring. I don't know. I'm just not someone that's into a whole lot of decoration and clutter and things like that. I like to keep things pretty simple. And yes, it's kind of dark over here. I would love to have a second end table and another lamp, but unfortunately they stopped making that end table that I have from the furniture company that I got this stuff from, so I would need to buy 2 new ones, which I might eventually do. I've got a little chair over here where I sit and like put on my shoes or stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. And then a dresser. I've got my TV up here where I can lay in bed somewhere out there and watch Netflix or movies or things like that. And then going into here, this is the master bathroom. So if you heard me talk about it earlier in the video when I was narrating over this ceiling is actually vaulted in my house. So it goes up and over, and the shower is really, really tall. It has space above the door, but obviously I couldn't do that given the constraints in Bloxburg currently. So this is just the shower. It's tile and then plastic on the floor. This is just a little toilet room, nothing too exciting. And then this is the master closet. I've got a different shelf configuration than this. It's not this fancy built-in woodwork like that, but it does have some built-in shelves and just like rods to hang clothes on and stuff. Nothing too exciting. And then a vanity along here. And then we will come back out this way, so you can see cutting back through and going into what's probably my favorite room in my house, where I'm currently sitting and spend most of my time. So this is my office space. So over on this side, and I should have put in some sort of electronic here, but I didn't given the time. This is where I've got like video game console set up. So I have an Xbox One and a Nintendo Switch, and I occasionally will play games on here. Not a whole lot, but it also links over to my computer monitor. So if I want to play, I can also play sitting here. And then this is my beloved desk setup. So as you can see in some of these photos, I've got 3 monitors. I've got my computer, which if you follow me on Twitter, you've probably seen. It's got my green and white lighting in it and a custom FroggyHopz logo graphics card cover plate. I put in these cash registers. They were supposed to represent my printer, which I'm sure I could have come up with a build hack, as so many have put it in the community, but I thought that this at least got the job done. And then back here, I've got a bookshelf. This is where I keep like personal photos and some different books that I have from throughout the years and different keepsakes. I've also got some Lego models of Lego architecture for those of you that are into those. Thought those were pretty cool that people have gifted me over the years. And then in here, this is just a spare closet that's supposed to go with this bedroom. I keep boxes and miscellaneous just items and junk in there that I don't want to look at all the time. And that is really my house. I hope you guys have enjoyed kind of coming through here with me. As you can see, it's already getting dark out. So like MTV Cribs always said, if you've ever watched that show, thanks for stopping by, and hopefully I will see you guys again. If you are new to the channel here, make sure to subscribe, like these videos, leave me a comment down below. I try to interact with you guys. Always appreciate the support, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.